Hello there! We have a new dish on our menu. It's all about simplicity. We have very few ingredients, but it is tasty. We will be cooking some pan-fried brown trout with new potatoes and spring onion butter sauce. And at the end of the video I will show you how I filleted that brown trout, so if you want to see also that part, then stick around. But let's begin. As I said, we don't need too much of ingredients, only that fillet of brown trout, some spring onions, new potatoes, salt and butter. And let's start with those potatoes. Those are new potatoes, so we don't have to peel them, but I've washed them carefully and now we will steam them. You can also boil them if you want, it's your choice. But the point is to start with those potatoes because they will take the longest time, and so they are ready when these all others are ready too. But back to the cutting board. So we are dealing now with those spring onions, and this will be part of our butter spring onion sauce. So we start by chopping these onions to small pieces. And of course you can choose how big or small pieces of onion will you put there in the sauce. I myself like the sauce to be really chunky of these onions, so these pieces are quite big. And as you saw what I did, put those onion pieces to the pot and add some butter in there with them. There are about 100 grams of butter. And if you are using ounces, it's about 3.5 ounces. And with our spring onion and butter we add some salt, like about half a teaspoon. Then put the sauce pot aside and we will deal with our brown trout. And actually at this point we don't really have to do anything with this trout. Just cut in half and let's head to the frying pan. And as you can see, our potatoes are steaming up there already. Nice! And with incredible cameraman skills we head to the trout fillets. And look at those. They will be delicious. So let's go on with the cooking. Heat up your frying pan and throw some butter in there. And then, as you can see, I've already heated up the little pot over there with the butter sauce, and now I'm starting to melt that butter there. And actually the point is just to melt the butter so the pieces of spring onion can simmer there and get soft and tasty. And the point is to make it with really low heat, so don't boil the hell out of that butter sauce, but use just a little of heat. And just mix that sauce here and there and leave it be there. My stovetop was on 2 out of 6 level, so that's the low heat for me. You can use about the same. And as you can see and hear from the great sizzling sound, we are starting to pan fry our brown trouts. So with the trout we fry them on this side for a couple of minutes, and we use high heat so we get a nice golden brown color on the surface. And with the pan fried trout I usually use only salt as a seasoning. But I know that for some people using only salt as a seasoning it is too mild, so of course feel free to try some other variations of seasoning, some seasoning mixes or whatever you come up to. And actually one that is quite great for brown trout is to use salt, and in addition to that use some black pepper and squeezed fresh lemon juice. That's a great combo for trout. But back to the pan now, because as you see we have flipped them over and now we have that nice golden brown color on the surface of the trouts. Then we threw some salt in there and we put the lid on. And at this point we lower the heat of the stove to about 3 out of 6. And there you can see a little closer look to our spring onion butter sauce, and that's the look that shows us that it is not ready yet. But really soon it is. With those trout fillets you have to be actually quite careful so that you won't overcook them, because if you overcook them they will get dry and they are not so good when they get dry. So about 2 minutes under the lid should do the trick, and if you're going to cook them over 2 minutes under the lid here, then be careful, because you don't want to overcook them, trust me. And at this point I like to remind you that at the end of this video I will show you how I made those brown trout fillets. I'm not a professional in filleting, but I think I managed to get some good fillets out of that whole trout. So stick around and check that part also if you are interested in that filleting part. And now we have some ready pan-fried trout fillets, and we take them off the stove top. And let's check our butter sauce, how it's looking. Those camera skills. And there you go. The spring onion butter sauce is ready now. Those spring onions have softened and it's flavorful and delicious, and it fits perfectly for our new potatoes. And actually the one reason we only salted our trouts is because this sauce is so flavorful, and we will be using that also on our trouts. And now let's put some food on the plate. Here we have our new potatoes and brown trout fillets. And now let's perform a little trick. We make a little cuts with a knife on top of every potato. Do you already know why we are doing this so-called trick? Well, I tell you. Because soon we will be pouring the buttery sauce on top of these potatoes. And now that our potatoes are open from top, it will suck the buttery sauce also inside the potato. Isn't it clever? And of course when you start eating this and the buttery sauce spreads all over the plate, then you can dip your potatoes on that sauce in the plate. And if you want some saltier trout, this is the moment when you add more salt, and of course pour a little bit of that buttery sauce also to give some flavor that fish. And there we have it, our dish is ready, and next let's check the filleting. So at first I have to say that I'm not really a master of filleting, so this is probably not at all the best way to fillet a fish, but it works for me, so here we go. First, do not cut the head off. Accidentally I did it. And I said I wasn't a pro, so there was a mistake that I made. Because I've learned that it's much more easier to fillet a fish when you have its head on. But nevertheless, we got our first fillet off. We will be cleaning it soon. But first let's take the other fillet off. The point here is to slide your knife as close as the backbone as you can. And there we have it, another fillet. And then we will clean it up a little bit, cut those excess parts. And it's quite hard for me to give you any specific instructions here, so I think we have to let this video do the talking and showing, and I hope you get something out of it. But one thing I want to say to you, and that is that when you are filleting a fish, make sure that you have a sharp knife. Because if you do this with dull knife, it's super difficult. And I know it because I also made that mistake once. And there we have our first fillet cleaned up. And we go on forward to our second fillet. First take those big rods out of the back, like that, and with sharp knife, as I said. And little slicing there from the bottom and from the sides, and there we have our second fillet. It's as simple as that, and I can guarantee that if I can do it, you can do it. And thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you on the next one.